ما جابوا عليك حشود صدقيها وقود المشوار ما دام رجالك بتشود لله المولى الجبار راية أرض الشام تعود تتزين جدر.
Syrian rebels from HTS have overrun the Syrian army base of the 25th Division in the Hama province and captured dozens of fully intact T-90A, Tiger MRAPs, BM-21 MLRS, trucks, and other armored vehicles. This Syrian division was one of the better equipped ones, as we can obviously see. It is mind-boggling to observe that Syrian forces, even after 4 days of losing Aleppo, are still not capable of stabilizing the front, or at least removing or destroying this valuable hardware. This is an army of virtually no morale. And rebels have also entered Khattab. The town is only 3 miles northwest of Hama. If Syrian rebels were to capture Hama, it would mark a critical shift in the Syrian civil war, threatening the stability of the Assad regime and challenging Russian forces' influence in the region. Hama is strategically significant due to its location in central Syria, serving as a transportation and logistics hub that connects various regions. Its loss would compromise Syrian government control over supply routes and potentially open the door for rebel advances deeper into regime-held territory. For Russian forces who support the Syrian government with airstrikes and military advisors, losing Hama would undermine their strategic objectives in Syria. It would also complicate efforts to project power and maintain a favorable balance in the broader Middle East conflict. The rebels also captured the radar unit of a S-300/S-400 battery, a Podlet K-1 in the army base of the 25th Special Division, Hama province. Assad forces abandoned dozens of main battle tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and trucks on the Khanasar road, probably because of lack of fuel. It is so reminiscent when Russians abandoned countless of gear after the failure in taking Kyiv. The rapid pace of rebel advances in Syria, including their push toward and partial capture of Hama, signals a dire situation for the Assad regime and its Russian allies. With rebel forces, particularly Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, reclaiming key territories, Assad's forces are overstretched and struggling to mount an effective defense. These gains expose the regime's vulnerabilities, especially as opposition forces exploit weaknesses in regime-held areas after years of relative stalemate. Russian airstrikes and reinforcements have failed to decisively halt this momentum, suggesting that the strategic tides may be turning against Moscow and Damascus. For Vladimir Putin, a forced withdrawal from Syria would represent a severe geopolitical setback. Since 2015, Russia's intervention in Syria has been framed domestically as a key achievement of Russian foreign policy, bolstering Assad's regime and expanding Moscow's influence in the Middle East. Losing ground to rebels now would undermine these efforts, damaging Putin's image as a global power broker and exposing the limits of Russian military capabilities. Domestically, this could exacerbate existing criticisms of Putin's leadership, particularly as he is already facing challenges due to the ongoing war in Ukraine. Internationally, it would embolden adversaries, weaken Russian leverage in Middle Eastern diplomacy, and signal waning influence in a region Moscow has heavily invested in to counter Western presence. Overall, such a loss would compound Russia's broader strategic struggles, isolating Putin further on the global stage. Igor Girkin-Strelkov commented on the events in Syria, stating that he predicted problems back in 2015 due to involvement in a war in a distant country. He added that it is impossible to help Assad in any way, and his defeat will automatically mean Russia's defeat. Back in 2015, when the operation in Syria began, I said and wrote that starting a war over 3 seas without the ability to deliver supplies, reinforcements, and everything needed in case of Turkey's negative stance was a gamble. It was doubly a gamble because we, having started the special military operation, must resolve the issue with Ukraine. And now we are forced to fight on 2 fronts. This is exactly what was anticipated, and unfortunately, what I predicted. Now, our enemies, of course, decided to take advantage of our weakness at the moment when we are occupied on the Ukrainian front. We are overstraining our efforts, and our Iranian allies have been struck by Israel and have begun to stir up the Syrian front again. Unfortunately, there's no good forecast for that, as we cannot weaken our Ukrainian front for the sake of Syria. The Turks will support their proxies, that is, the units of the so-called Free Syrian Army, to a sufficient extent to help them achieve significant successes. Unfortunately, I don't know the full extent of these successes. I don't have detailed information. Nevertheless, from the rumors I hear, I can judge, let's say, that the main local contingent has low resilience. Unfortunately, since our contingent is still there and participating in combat, the defeat of the Syrian side will also be our defeat. We can't count on a victory, at least not a serious one, because the Turks won't allow it, and we won't be able to stop them. We will follow the developments. In any case, the fact that we now have to fight on two fronts is a result of the highest stupidity and incompetence shown by our military and political leadership back in 2015 and still ongoing today. In an interview with Al Arabi Al Jadid news outlet, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that if the Syrian government asks Iran to send troops to Syria, Tehran will consider this request. Iran does not command the resistance groups in Arab countries and lacks organizational ties with them. However, it does support their cause and provides assistance when necessary, he said. Araghchi also addressed the Iranian nuclear negotiations, expressing that there are many reasons to feel pessimistic about the discussions with Europe regarding the nuclear issue. Iranian Foreign Minister noted that Iran currently has no intention of engaging in talks with Washington, as there is no foundation for such dialogue. We are waiting to see the policies that the new U.S. administration will implement before determining our own policy, he concluded. And the Idlib rebels have entered Hama, Syria's fourth largest city from the northeast. Heavy fighting with Assad's forces is now taking place in the central neighborhood of Al-Arbain. If Assad can't hold Hama, his position will go from bad to worse. So far, Syrian rebel captured another 30 villages and multiple Assad military installations in Syria's Hama province. And it's interesting that Russians used Syria for their operations in Libya and further in Africa. But if Russians lose Syria, for example, they can't fly in 12S to Africa anymore. It will be too far.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.